So, hello everyone. Welcome to this roundtable discussion on future of HR and pay, driving success in new world of work. It is rarely that we get to start 15 minutes prior, but really happy to be here and starting ahead of time. So this roundtable is brought to you by ETHR World and ATP. ETHR World is an integrated media platform for the HR vertical by Economic Times, the second most widely read business newspaper in the world. And ADP, or Automatic Data Processing, is an American human resource management software and services provider. ADP has consistently been ranking very high in Fortune 500, and it is estimated 1 out of 6 employees in US get a paycheck through ADP. But before we start this discussion, let's get to know each other better. So I'd request you to share your name, designation, and organization's name to know your professional side, and one fun fact about yourself to know your personal side as well. I'll go first. I'm Pooja Bothra. I'm Associate Editor at Economic Times HR World. And I am a follower of Iyengar Yoga. I've been practicing Iyengar Yoga now for almost a decade and a half. Rahul.
Hey, hello everyone. I'm excited to see you all here and thanks for coming in. So my name is Rahul Goyal. I am the Managing Director for ADP India and Southeast Asia. And my newfound passion is trekking. just went for a short trek in Himalayas and I think it was wonderful.
Thank you, Rahul. I hope I'm audible.
Yes.
Very good morning to all of you. I'm Hariharan Subramanian. You can call me Hari. And I work as Head of HR for Iris Software Group in India. I've just joined, it's been a couple of months. Before that, I was working for Aspire Systems as Head of HR for India and Europe. One fun factor, probably it would be very hard for you to believe, is that I'm a trained classical dancer.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
Okay. Hey, hi. Good morning, everyone. My name is Bala Vimudi. I head HR for SRM Technologies and SRM Factory. And fun factor, I have probably a good. I should talk to Rahul. We should do trek more.
Oh, yeah.
I have done close to 12 treks in the last 7 years. Yeah, that's about it. And good to be here. Nice to see you. Yeah.
Hi, Rahul Pooja. My name is Suman Mitra. I head HR for Saint-Gobain India. And when we talk about Saint-Gobain India, it also includes Southeast Asia and multiple businesses of Saint-Gobain India. I take care manufacturing, IT, and all those things. Fun factor, I don't know, it's a fun or passion. I love wildlife photography. So India has 139 national park. As of now, I have covered 73. So that's my passion. Yeah.
Good morning. So I'm Alex, a Chief People Officer for Waycool. Not sure many people would have heard about the company. It is only 8-year-old. I just came back from Mumbai after close to 17 years. Right now, working with this organization, which is more into the food supply chain. I am certainly a passionate off-roader. I enjoy off-roading, mostly with my Mahindra 550.
Hi, morning to everyone. I'm Sundarajan. I head HR for India and South Asia for Reddington. And as you all know, Reddington is into IT distribution for the last 3 decades. And we are a listed company, so we have our own rigmaroles of quarters, profits, and loss. The interest for me is running. Of course, I wanted to do at least 10 kilometers of full running, but so far it's been a walk and running. But I've been able to cover 10 kilometers at least twice in a month. Otherwise, I run really. Thanks.
Good morning all. I am Venkat from Rotork, India. Rotork is a world leader in manufacturing actuators. Actuator is flow control equipment used in oil and gas industry. Before Rotork, I worked in Murugappa Group for 20 years. So I am from finance. I am the only odd man in this crowd. I asked I think Madan whether any finance guys are coming. He said many people are coming. Finally, I found I am the only order. While I am from finance, my interest lies in writing articles on various inspiration subjects. I write in WordPress. I have published around 35 articles, and this I offer also I think I got through that LinkedIn presence. I think so. Thank you. Thanks.
Yeah.
Hi, good morning. I'm sorry about the delay. My name is Priya Venkatraman. I head the Indian Software Limited, Private Limited as a head HR, Senior Vice President there. I come with overall about 23 years of experience in the HR space, been with multi industries from, from IT to automotive to oil and gas, etc. Glad to be here. Sorry about the delay, like I said. I heard somebody saying, so what is your passion? So I'm just picking up from there, or what I heard from Sundar talking about. I have done 4 half marathons. One thing that I've not done is the full marathon, which has been my goal. I don't know when will I complete it, but that's my to-do list that I have it in my thing. Yeah. So happy to be here. Excited to meet wonderful people. I think they're all. I think such forums help us to come together to one, to understand what is the best practices from each company and also learn from each other. So thank you for this opportunity, ET World and ETHR World, and thanks to Madan too. So he was, so passionate about, and he was saying, hey Priya, would you be able to make it? So thank you. Thanks for this opportunity.
Yeah.
Hi, good morning. My name is Madhava Priyan. I'm Vice President HR and Organizational Development for Flyjack Logistics Private Limited, which is 100% owned by Hitachi Transport System of Japan. I head HR function for India and UAE. And I've been about 35 years of experience in HR, specialized in training and development and behavioral psychology, and use that for people development in the organization. About my passion, it is teaching. I've been teaching in various universities in India for more than 20 years, almost all universities, including some of the IITs also, and on management subject. And I am a person gifted with the tridimensional art of clay modeling. That's a natural talent. So I keep doing that. I also train our employees, kids for that. That becomes a great employee engagement activity wherever I go, clay modeling. And also wildlife enthusiast, going to all wildlife locations. Also a trainer for most of the tiger reserves in India, for the DFOs and range officers like that. And also I run 5 kilometers every day. Not gone for any marathons, because when I go for wildlife, definitely this is one of the basic things that you need to have. You should have the ability to run when situation warrants. So thank you for the opportunity. Thank you. Nice meeting all of you.
Hello everyone, my name is Anil Kumar and I'm heading the HR for Numeric, which is a part of Playground Group in India. And I say that I was born and brought up in Numeric only because I graduated and joined this organization. I was into finance, moved in 2013 into HR, and it was because of the passion, nothing to do with finance. For me, finance was a little boring, so I moved to HR. And the fun fact is that I love playing badminton, and I have a habit that every day morning I play badminton at my place, and then evening we go with our teams to play badminton. So that is one passion for me. Yeah. Thank you for.
Yeah, my name is Balakumar. I head HR for Bhavan Cybertech. My passion is predominantly I'm a Kriyaban. Kriya Yoga is what I used to practice.
Interesting.
Hi, good morning. My name is Pooja Velal. Originally from Pune in a company called Schaeffler India into automotives. Have recently stepped into Sundaram Clayton as the head HR. The fun factor is everyday life here, because I don't understand what the Ola drivers and the grocery delivery boys speak to me. I don't understand what my maid says in the morning. So every day is a fun day. From a passion perspective, I'm an active volunteer with the ASI. And work on all archaeological heritage surveys and rehabilitation of these structures as well. And hence UNESCO World Heritage Sites also become a big point of energy for me, a source of energy if I could say. So that's something that's catching up wild with me. Then I do photography. I work with the National Geographic and the Lonely Planet from the last 25 years. So 24 years of professional life and over 24 years of this madness is keeping me going. Thank you.
So, morning all. I'd like to thank Pooja from ETHR World and Rahul from ADP. My name is Nageshwara. People call me Nagesh. I head the human resource for TVS Electronics Limited. Been in the industry for close to about 3 decades. My passion is I'm a practitioner and a trainer in Isha Yoga since the last 15 years. So look forward to meet you all today. Thank you.
Hey, good morning all of you. My name is Vinod and I head the Human Resource Function for Computer Age Management, so CAMS. CAMS is the RTA for mutual funds and it's a 35-year-old organization. Joined a year back. Before that I was with Intellect and Capgemini and Flextronics. So fun part, maybe I envy Hari because I also started as classical, kind of I trained for 5-6 years, but I stopped. Then the other fun factor is that almost 10 years I played harmonica again on classic, then I again stopped it. Now I'm learning for the last 4 years into violin, so let's see whether it continues. So, so that's about me. Thank you.
So thank you for those wonderful and fascinating introduction. I can clearly see that, outdoor is a preference which is coming out very passionately here, marathon running, dancing, yoga. So really great to know all of you. So I'd also like to share that ETHR World and ADP recently have launched this report, Future of Pay in India 2023. It's a very immersive report on this subject, with both qualitative and quantitative facts. Since Rahul is here with us today, what better to know more about this report than have Rahul take us through the insights from this report. So I'd request Rahul to please share some insights on this report.
All right, thank you, Pooja. Works. Okay, maybe I need that. So once again, thank you for coming for this meeting, and great to know all of you, right? I mean, the fun factor part was great, right? So, all right, so I'm not going to take more than 15 minutes and run through some of the important aspects that we captured. And the report is with you, and it's available in the e-form as well, so feel free to download and distribute as you feel like, right? So we wanted to do this Future of Pay report, and why we wanted to do this. Let me state the objective. We thought payroll is an understated function in many of the organizations. It's like akin to electricity providing, right? So as long as the electricity comes, everyone is okay. But the moment it stops, hell breaks loose. So we thought, we need to deep dive and immerse ourselves into what's happening in this payroll function. And I personally think that, there are payroll warriors, just like COVID warriors and healthcare warriors. I think these payroll warriors, they stood the test of the time. They ensured that, our pay is reaching us in time, every time, come what may. And that's why that was the inspiration for doing this study and the report. So just a quick glimpse about ADP. ADP is a global HCM leader. We serve more than 1 million customers across the world. We pay 40 million workers or employees across 140 countries. So significant amount of volume goes through, and $3.1 trillion of money that we disperse to employee accounts every month, right? So last week has been a week of maddening crisis. So Silicon Valley crashed, and then you could imagine, the amount of queries that we would be receiving from the employees, whether their payments will be done or not, etc. So some of those glitches also impact us. We're a $16.5 billion organization, and we have 60,000 associates, so a largest pool of associates, payroll associates across the world. India, we have a wide footprint. We service or we pay more than 1 million employees across more than 2,000 organizations, starting from 1 employee to 30,000 employee organizations across the country. And it's a very fascinating scenario in India. In India, payroll function is still in its evolutionary phase, unlike many other countries in the Western world, or maybe some of the countries in the Southeast Asia region as well. So we did this research, and we did qualitative interviews, and we also did a questionnaire-based quantitative survey with 200 HR professionals, 200 professionals across multiple organizations. So the focus was essentially mid and large organizations, so 500 plus employee organizations, and it's the first kind of study. No one has actually immersed into payroll function as a logical and structured study. A lot of folks were in finance and HR who deal with payroll, so they were not hands-off, they were hands-on, actually, as you could see in the first chart. Most of them had responsibility for payroll, and the industries predominantly were technology, manufacturing, a little bit of healthcare as well, and as I mentioned, mid to large sized organizations. What are the themes that emerged? Whilst you have this report, but then there are three themes which clearly emerge, and nothing new, but then it's important to restate this and re-emphasize just to go deeper into these subjects. So one is, we are seeing big shift in the pay, right? So, and what are the drivers of this shift happening? And this shift is kind of a little much more conspicuous than what we had seen in the pre-pandemic era. Organizations are depending on payroll data much more for strategic decisions. We'll deliberate about it a little bit more. There are compliance challenges, compliance and foreseeability, which is much, much more than what it used to be like 7 years back, 5 years back in the country. And everyone is talking about digital transformation. So that's a kind of a big shift, conspicuous shift than what we used to see earlier. Second is very important, and this is central to the payroll function, right? So payroll function is a kind of understated, overlooked function sitting in the back end. And the idea is to bring them to the front end, right? To say, hey, these are also human beings, right? And what skills are required? What do they go through? Some of those aspects are also dealt with in the report. And the third is how the pay is reinventing itself. Right? So the new norm, right, which is new composition, workforce composition, which is predominantly a large chunk of people are Gen Z and millennials, right? How are they seeing pay, right? And what are their expectations from pay? It's just not about paying salary month on month, right? So we'll kind of look into it a little bit as well. But first of all, importance for pay data and how it has become strategic, right? So people always consider pay as a HR operational subject, right? Hardly spoken about, never visible in boardroom settings. We all know about it, right? But three things have clearly changed the dimension. First, post-pandemic, we had resignations. So then we started into hiring surge, right? So a lot of people were then recruited. Then rationalization happened. Finance folks, they said, hey, where are the margins, guys? You are spending too much money on benefits, etc. Certain margin pressures came in, right? And at every stage, and in fact during the pandemic as well, the queries that top management asked about pay data was immense, right? And that continued. And if you look at it, most of the decisions get taken looking at the pay data, right? The pay data has to be structured. It's not so much structured these days. But I think slicing, dicing pay data is very, very important. And it's kind of becoming a business as usual requirement, right? That's one. The second point is, as you would have noticed, most of the organizations and the clients that I meet, they keep talking about DEI, right? Diversity, inclusion, equity. And that's kind of a bedrock of any organization these days. But how do you drive gender pay equity if you don't have the pay data, right? Which function? It's not about the gender ratio alone. It's about pay equity, right? And that could be driven only when you have a consistent data in a structured format coming through to the top management in a periodic manner, right? So I think this chart clearly states the evolution of pay data from a back-end ops function to a strategic function. The processing and transaction can yet be back-end, but I think the inferences would have to be at the front stage, right? And related to it is creating value. So most of you would agree that during pandemic, we wanted to just make people happy because all of us were going through so much of stress. So dole out this benefit, give this benefit, make people happy, right? No one was looking at the margins and pressures and things like that. They wanted to retain people. They wanted to do many, many things just to survive and get over the crisis, right? And just immediately after the crisis, maybe phase one of the crisis, we started recruiting a huge number of young talent, right? College to corporate, first-timers in the job. Most of the organizations, mid-sized organizations, they did that, right? And for them, understanding pay structure, benefit structure was very difficult. Most of the organizations, and I can talk with some conviction, most of the organizations, they didn't do a good job in terms of communicating it, right? So they communicated their benefits in comparison to the other organization, saying that, hey, come and join my organization because I have these 10 benefits than the other organization, right? So that was the communication pattern. But what got missing was how the pay structure of an organization is beneficial to me. And I'm the one who's just joined the organization, first timer in the organization, right? First job. So understanding the taxes, understanding the complicated benefit system, understanding the net take home, etc., was not easy, right? And I think financial wellness is all about understanding how much you get. It's not about whether you get less or no, or more, right? It's about understanding your pay structure. And I think what we have to drive, and this is what the report indicates as well, that we have to kind of drive this education, especially to the changing demographics in the organization. Right? And when we do that, I think it creates a culture of trust and transparency. We all know about that. I also think that compliances and workforce composition, etc., they can be better structured. If we understand the value, again going back, the pay data and how it is structured, I think it can help us take those decisions much better. We all know about transformation. Every organization undergoes transformation or is undergoing transformation. It's HR transformation or finance transformation, and many times. Payroll, which is very data intensive and very data sensitive, right, and extremely transaction oriented, get missed out, right? So it's perhaps many times, it's kind of not at the central point of transformation. So organizations are realizing that, this has to be important, and there has to be a technology intervention. There has to be a business process engineering intervention. There has to be a consolidation intervention if you are multi-country, multi-city kind of an organization. Coming to payroll function itself, so we had payroll experts who were subject matter experts, knowledge of compliance, of course, knowledge of taxation, etc. Right? So, and essentially, the payroll function is full of folks who have done commerce education, chartered accounting, cost education, etc. But I think what the survey indicates is what is now required is automation experience, very important, right? Beyond Excel sheets, beyond Excel sheet macros. Their savviness in using what is called as RPA or robotics, which is very, very popular these days. How do you build connections for data flow? Right? Data flow is so very important. Data security is also therefore at the heart of it, and of course privacy as well. So some of these things besides reporting and analytical skills are as important as the domain skills. And I think these skills do not, there's no formal education system to build these skills. So I think some of us would have to take that initiative to have these skills imparted to these folks. And finally, how do we drive business success through reimagining pay? And this is very interesting. So there are two things in pay which is kind of getting questioned from the conventional. Sorry about that. It happens all the time. It happens with me as well. So how do we reimagine pay? There are two things which are kind of pillars, right? Access to pay, right, and frequency of pay. These are two items that's kind of getting questioned, especially with organizations with younger demographics, right? So they're saying, hey, I have a exigency and I need my pay. I have worked for 15 days, so I need early access to my wages. It's a valid point, logically valid point, right? Why should I get my pay at the end of the month? You know, it should be more frequent. And you know, these are the questions that are kind of coming up. So pay used to be the contract between an employer and employee, right, traditionally, right? And every month, first of the month or last day of the month, you get your pay. But I think younger folks these days, they say, hey, 1 month is too long, right? So and there are multiple drivers why this is happening. We'll not go into that, but I think it's time to relook at that. So some of the providers in the country, you know, early wage access, they are becoming very, very popular. And just to summarize, I think three kind of takeaways, though there's a lot of information in the report, but I think financial wellness is fundamental to employee experience. And it's not about the quantum of pay, you know, it's about awareness about what you get as pay and benefits. And I think it drives a culture of trust and transparency, extremely important for retaining employees. Two, I think payroll function is becoming strategic. And I think initially, you know, we might have to create a little bit of noise to get that seat on the table and voice on the table. But I think it's important and it can really drive business efficiency and growth. And finally, new trends, emerging trends, right? Access to pay, frequency of pay, right? So people are saying on-demand pay. I know legislatively and otherwise, it's extremely difficult to do that in India. But I think, you know, this should be a part of the conversation. You know, can we work with a provider who can give us early access to wages, not loans, but early access to wages, right? And of course, you know, if we can look at the frequency of the pay. And frequency of the pay is also not an easy subject. You know, we being in payroll, we know how difficult it would be to align with the statutory aspects, but still, it's a point of conversation. All right, so that's it from my side. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you, Rahul. And before we let you go, would there be any question for Rahul?
Rahul, a question out of curiosity. There is also a buzzword called total rewards now. The organizations leverage everything that is non-monetary as a package to a particular employee as an offering.
Yes.
It could be a talent attraction gimmick or whether it be something serious beyond it as well. Having said that, did any of those flavors come in the research or the feedback?
So, Pooja, very valid point, and thanks for asking this question. So, I personally believe in total rewards, right? I'm a great fan of total rewards. But in India right now, and this is our first report, and we had a wide pool of companies that we interviewed. We wanted to keep it simple, and we wanted to just have limited to pay and some of those elements. But I agree with you, total rewards is something that we have to communicate time and again, right? So if you ask me, you know, what does ADP give to me, I can't narrate that, right? I mean, it's a whole picture that needs to be presented to the organization in a much more consumable manner, right? So just to give you an example, so this was a problem across ADP, 60,000 people, and we are running benefits understanding month, right? So that we understand, you know, what are the benefits given to us, right? Because I know the benefits when I sign my offer letter, and once in a while, you know, I get a look at it, etc. But you are right, you know, total rewards need to get communicated a lot more and much better.
There's an extension to that question. How does the young people look at the long-term incentives and the short-term incentive? When you were mentioning that today it's all about access and access of pay, how do they see the long-term incentive? Why when I'm talking about LTI is you also mentioned about the wealth and wealth creation part of it. So do they look at LTI as a good option? Do they recognize, as the earlier folks used to see, the earlier set of people used to look at LTI as a wealth creation option, and salary was something which was a midterm.
So a good question, right? And this is my personal take, not written in the report, but then this is what we keep seeing. So there are two stages, right? Pre-marriage stage, where LTI is least looked into, right? Hey, I need to meet my today's expenses. I don't know 5 years later when my ESOPs or any of those things, retention bonuses and things like that, would they fructify or not? Who's seen, right? So their focus on LTI is fairly limited. But as the life events unfold, we see that people start looking at wealth creation opportunities, and this happens in our experience in the society that we are in, maybe beyond 30 years. And we have also seen a little bit of a gender skewness here. So women folks, they consider LTI, they take it a little more seriously than perhaps the men. Right?
Thank you.
Rahul, hi. Firstly, thank you for that comprehensive thing. Two things. One, you mentioned about how payroll as a function is very understated and they've been overlooked and they are put in the back end, etc. Which is a very fair point because they don't sort of get the whatever visibility that they get in. And money is hearts and minds of people, right? Anything that goes lesser, everybody, even that, I mean, fair enough, 1 rupee also matters a lot for the work that you put in. But you mentioned a great point of early access to wages. But in today's context, and whatever, I'm assuming all the other HR folks with me also will agree that people leave, I mean, they just wait for the salary and then they wanted to just quit and go. And if you tell them in 15 days we give you the salary, and then they will like, yeah, I'm done with it now. And that and in a context, see, paycheck in the US works very differently, and in India, as an organization, as a culture by ourselves, how do you think?
So Priya, so there are two ways, and we are in the US, we do a fair amount of early access or early wage access, right? EWA as it is called. And we would not recommend organizations to do it themselves. We would always recommend a partner doing it for themselves.
Yeah.
So when a partner does it, so for 15 days, if you have to get 10,000 rupees and your monthly salary is 20,000 rupees, for example, 15th day you raise a request for early wage, right? So for 15 days you get 10,000 rupees, right? Now for 10,000 rupees you give a transactional fee to the provider, right? And the provider would deduct that salary towards the end of the month, right? And if you abscond, if you leave, your full and final settlement would have 10,000 rupees deducted from you, right? So what we have seen is, whilst your point is fair, people can quit and, money loss happens, but then if you look at the percentage of money lost in the process is not material, is minuscule, right? So delinquency or people not paying up, and therefore companies under a little bit of a financial liability because of this reason, or they would have to take financial penalties because of this reason, is negligible. It does not even surface, right? So that's one statistic. And I think as the concept grows in India, people would be very mindful of their credit scores, of their financial liabilities, and paying them in time. And there will be a set of people who will always be on the other side of the fence, right? And that's something that perhaps we'll have to kind of live with, is what I feel.
So should we start the discussion, and we'll take some of the questions over the discussion? Okay.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Rahul, for those insights. So Priya, I'd like to, you in a way stole my thought, because I feel pay is an eternal motivator for human beings to work. And the irony, however, is that you always feel underpaid for whatever you do. Your salary comes in like a tortoise and, goes like a rabbit. However, this is not the context of our discussion today. Today, we are going to build on the insights of this report, firstly. And secondly, we'd also like to know from you the challenges, trends, focus areas, and best practices regarding the future of HR and pay. So the context is, given the uncertainty in the business world, financial wellness has become increasingly essential for employees to mitigate cash crunch and financial instability. Organizations know these challenges and use intelligent technologies and employee-centric culture to derive an agile pay strategy. In the current context of work, having the right HR and payroll strategy is critical pillar for HR transformation. The need of the hour is to rebalance agile, people-centric strategies and tech innovations to focus on growth and employee experience. Today, the pulse of leaders is determined by effective change management and intent. This discussion will explore how that impacts pay and HR transformation in the new normal. So before we deep dive into pay, I'd like to throw a very open question to you about HR transformation. That what are those trends in the industry that is becoming an imperative for you today to transform your HR processes, keeping an eye on people centricity? So we'll not go in any particular order. We'll just have a very freewheeling discussion. Anybody who wants to share an insight or any question, please feel free to do that.
Okay, so I can start. The transformation that I could see is that the approach towards employment contract itself, right? The word contract itself is a very negative terminology in India, whereas when you go outside India, it's like that's the best word too, because they feel that, okay, there is everything in paper, black and white. But now that is becoming a very clear thing here as well, that people are moving towards a contractual relationship and they don't need an emotional relationship. Sometimes, they feel that, yes, this is what I deserve, so you give me. Okay, you don't give me a career or anything, whereas I'm doing your work and you are giving me the pay. So I need to also look at their connect on those lines and make my contracts very strong. Yeah, it's not about, penalizing or legalizing things, but also put everything in black and white and tell people what is okay, what is not okay, what is the style of employment that we are going to have, what is expected out of you. And the second thing is, I think when they don't have a knowledge on the purpose of their role, they are not enjoying. So earlier we used to bring them and then tell them what is right, what is expected out of them. But now when we go for even a simple JD, it has to be so detailed, because they are saying that, yeah, I am a fresher, but it doesn't mean that I should take up whatever you are giving me, right? So they want to understand the purpose, they want to understand the big picture. So we are having huge challenge in educating them, and then their, I'm just talking about young people, because we hire a lot of people on that level, especially we are a financial company, so we hire a lot of people from BCom graduates, CA interns, ICWA interns. So for them to understand the purpose of their role and what is that value that they create, becoming a very key. And our policies, process, everything needs to revolve around, and it has to be a performance driven.
Yes, transparency has been a key word, in the last 2 years. Vinod, I'd like to get you in and ask you one trend that has been an imperative to transform HR for you.
Not one trend. I think there are quite a bit of trends actually. The learning, at least in my industry, where it's more a ITES kind of a industry, the churnout ratios are pretty high. So the challenge which I see is how do you reskill and train people in the context of changing regulations actually. Because in the RTA mutual fund industry, we are a very highly regulated company. So you need quite a bit of certifications to get into the role itself. And then you see next 6 months is not there. So so we have kind of my own experience that we have moved away from the typical mandates kind of a training to a more ILD kind of environment, which is an individual as a learning disposition score actually. So that competes each person in terms of what is my ILD score versus what is your ILD score. So ILD score is an algorithm which we have defined in terms of what you can learn from your role, how you can gain from your role in terms of, what is that you have gained. We have a measurement algorithm actually. And what is the mode of learning and what is the frequency of learning. So that becomes the driving performance culture for our company. And every person talks about what is my ILD score, what is your ILD score, and that's how. And in the process of this ILD score, we have put in lot of things in terms of egregious actions, cultural behaviors, learning behaviors, everything in the score. So that drives our performance culture. But I think it's working well. We have seen, ITS typically have an attrition of around 60, 65%. So we are hovering around 32%, which is, a pride moment for us actually. So essentially because of the culture shift and the performance architecture which we have built in a very robust model which we have built actually. So that's one challenge we had in the last couple of years which we are trying to address now.
Interesting. So before we get into payroll, Bala, any point from you on HR transformation?
Yeah, HR transformation, predominantly it's all moving into the digital space where we are trying to be faster in terms of our responses and the way we are trying to build capability-centric organizations and the way the team's been built upon to meet the changing demands. So that's the way we are working on right now.
Interesting. So when it comes to the payroll strategy, not only employees' expectations, but even employers' expectations has gone through a sea of change. So what are you doing differently to meet or keep employees' expectations as long as payroll strategy is concerned? Sure.
In my organization, I have multiple challenges. One is the expectation of the people, of the employees who are into manufacturing. Expectation is different. The people who are into software, expectation is different. Point one. Point two, in my industry or in my organization, if I look at 5 generations are working. And today with 5 generations, their expectations are completely different. So what we are trying to do, what Rahul was talking about, how do we educate people about total reward? How do we educate people about financial well-being? Why a credit report is important for you? Then bringing flexibility. It cannot be a unified code for everybody. It cannot be. So just to give an example, maybe 25 years, past 25 years, the people who are into the system, they have enjoyed 40% of the bonus. But when we had looked into the lower level of people, the expectation was, I'm not interested about 40% bonus. And it's not an industry trend. Why don't you give me less bonus, more in pay in my monthly? So then last year we did one exercise up to a certain level. We have decided that yes, you can take your annual bonus in advance. Why don't you take in 3 quarters? First half you take in June, when we decided in month of May. You take in June, you take in then September, and then final in December. Generally, our bonuses are paid in this January, and then 75% of the total bonus based on, we have done some calculation of predictability of the business, how it is going to be. 75% of the bonus we have allowed them to take because they wanted them. So today's world is about flexibility. You cannot have a single strategy for a person. And Rahul was also talking about how do we bring trust and transparency. So whatever we are doing it from the perspective of people experience, and it has to be flexible. What is satisfying me may not satisfy somebody else. So HR transformation in all areas, we are experiencing, I would say. And it's about flexibility. You need to meet that need, whatever people are looking for. And otherwise, they're not going to stay. Absolutely, they're not going to stay. And after COVID, the challenges have increased further. While they are keen to attach to the organization, yes, a little bit of contrary to what he was talking about, we are moving from a legal contract, making pay as a psychological contract. so that people are with you. So I would say that.
Very interesting point. I really like the psychological contract aspect that you mentioned, and also, the best practice. It sounds like a best practice about the bonus that you can draw, 3 times a year and not wait for the end of the year. Other best practices?
I'll add to what Suman said. So it's on the same line of the variable pay. A lot of employees at one point of time were not aware that what will be my variable pay at the end of the year. So what we have done is we have given them a tool. It's a normal Excel tool which we did by ourselves, where they can fill their achievements and they can predict what will be my variable pay. That is one thing which I think was a bottleneck for me, for my organization. So today everybody knows there's a Salesforce tool for the engineers where they can see based on their productivity, based on their business, that what will be my variable pay. So we have flexibility in variable pay, we have quarterly variable pay, monthly variable pays. So that is one area. And the second thing is, I think as HRs we need to keep having surveys or discussions with the employees. As Suman said, that we should be aware that what is the need of the person. I think as HR we will not be able to fulfill all the needs, but we should be aware where is the bigger cohort group lying, and how can we strategize our payroll processes and the payment strategies based on this cohort group.
Can I add?
Interesting.
Yeah,
Yes, please.
yeah. So I just share what we did. So what we did is we tried to alter the pay structure by using the advantages of the income tax provisions. So we engaged PwC to analyze various pay options which will get a better net take home to the employees. And then we also made one change where the NPS contribution from employers, the tax benefit of 10% is there on the basic, in addition to the 50,000 employee contribution. So we called a teams meeting of all the employees. We explained to them the benefit and told them, if you do this, your tax pay, especially it is benefit for more than 20% bracket people. So that helped many people to opt for it, and now they are getting tax benefit also. That's one way we handle the pay strategy. Also, we have a monthly review where I from finance, I present the bonus chart, because we align the bonus based on the company's performance. So my duty is to say to the employees, boss, you are at this level. If you want to grow to this level, you have to achieve this much. So it is a regular feedback, and it is multi-function. Like each sales team will have different targets. So once we give it, as I progress during the year, by end of the year, everyone knows what the company is doing, whether they are going to get full bonus or part bonus, what they can do more. So in a way, such a payroll discussions in the management review team, it helps the people to know what they are going to get and push the other boss. Boss, you have to make this much sale to get the bonus. Can you please push? So this strategy helps the overall company's profitability growth and the revenue growth also.
Just like to add one more point here, is on the transparency, which I think Hariharan was talking about. So we have a program which we launched last year for our people managers, because every time as an HR you will not be able to answer all the queries. It's better that your manager understands the compensation and benefits. So we have a module which is of 2 hours in this particular program, where we explain them how the compensation is done, how what are the different aspects of compensation which an employee can choose based on flexi baskets. When it becomes a part of the responsibility of the manager, I think it becomes much easier for HR to understand and make the people understand that how the compensation works. When freshers joins, I think they don't understand this PF portion and the income taxes and all this, and I think when your manager understand that, it's much easier, because they're you can virtually talk to them, you can talk on phone and all this, but I think when you have this proximity of having one-to-one discussions, it becomes much easier. So that is one more area we're working on, so that our manager understand the compensation and the total reward philosophy of the organization.
Yeah. Pooja,
So,
I have a point to make, sorry. So I come from a sales organization, and you look at the sales force, what they look for is, how do I earn more incentive? So we started with a structure of 20% as a variable, 80 as fixed. But today, largely we are moving into a 70-30, and there is a ask from the sales team. You know why? Because it's not that I will earn a full 30% of the compensation, because I always give an accelerator on the performance. So a sales guy has the ability to earn 150% or a 200% of the variable component. So when you design and structure in a way that if your overall CTC is 100, but if you really perform well, your variable component can fetch you to a level that you earn 120 or 130, right? So that's the incentive programs that is very key, is what I feel. I also have a challenge where it is for non-sales guys. Non-sales guys, the ability to earn more on variable is very less. So there the ask is, don't give us variable. Instead, give us a pay which is, we are fine. We will do our work and don't ask more from us. We will do what we need to do. That is another thing. And the third is coming from the technology side of saying that, see, we are skilled and we know how things work and we are on demand. So how do we ring fence them? I was asking about the LTI and STI, especially in the tech area and services area. We are looking at a lot of STI programs to be rolled out so that we ring fence them and make them stay. Salary is, yeah, it's there, it's coming in the bank. But what's in for me to stay with you is a question that's coming in.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. No, I thought before somebody jumps, I have to sell my company also. He talked about NPS, so anyone wants NPS, we are, authorized, approved. We work with PFRDA. We have a very tax-friendly NPS, so please do come and, have a talk with me. We can have a coffee break, okay. So that apart, so jokes apart, so we also, I am not I'm not a huge fan of the EWA, but definitely total rewards. So in camps also, the early founders had, devised a lot of good programs, in terms of the productivity linked bonus and some of these other things like, certification based, rewards actually. These things never have been captured in the payroll at all, So in fact, 1 year, I was surprised that these are all paid actually. So I myself, so then we tried to capture that somebody at, 15 lakhs and he is getting another 2.5 to 3 lakhs on the productivity and the certification program. So then we brought everything in the payroll. So I think, yeah, some of those things, if you, and then including the net take home and things like that, I think if you bring it to the payroll, total rewards, I think, it makes much more sense actually, yeah.
So after Bala.
Yeah. So one peculiar challenge what I have, I like what Suman said, right? Manufacturing and IT, both are two different animals altogether. Fortunately, unfortunately, I manage both. I had HR for SRM IT, I had HR for SRM factory. So here, post-pandemic, a lot of driving factors have changed, right? For example, what he said in terms of incentives. So for me, when I run factory, I need to go with the governance. I have to pay them bonuses, right? And I also have a sales team who work for factory. So what we have done, we have been so flexible in terms of compensation. We have given variable component for sales folks. And in IT, before pandemic, we were having 20% as variable. But post-pandemic, two things have happened. The salaries have gone up. Probably Rahul will agree with me. To attract talent, people were very particular about, I want more take home, don't give me variable. They said variable I get after a year, and I'm not sure with the industry if you can give me all 100%. So give me fixed. So we changed. We've been so agile with the pay structure. We changed. So last 3 years for IT, within the IT developers, we're giving them complete fixed pre-sales, sales, business development. We still have 25%, and then there is a ramp. So that's the flexibility we adopted in the last couple of years. And one more what we have done in the last 3 years, if you see, work from home. Pandemic actually triggered work from home option, right? So I had two different challenges because factory, we didn't close the factory. We could not during the pandemic. But if you see with SRM technology IT side of it, still my 25% of workforce only coming to office. 70% work from home, but factory completely reverse. The shift timings. And now with a lot of social pressure, people are giving a lot of different kinds of leaves, right? So managing those variable holidays and leaves pattern what we have. Sorry. So we had to be flexible, and of course there the technology transformation is coming, right? And shift timings is one big shift we had, because today, post-pandemic, there's nothing called 9:30 to 6:30. At the same time, people should clock in for 9 hours, because that translates to billing. So what we have done, we brought in mobile applications for everybody, including the shop floor, right from CEO till shop floor. As soon as they enter, there is access is there, but as soon as they enter, they have to click in and punch out in mobile. So that made us pretty easy, because factory, what has happened again post-pandemic, a lot of backlogs were there, and we could not run in one shift. We have to run in 3 shifts. And 3 shifts, we have to ensure the shop floor is also clear after every shift, so people could not access income. So mobile application actually helped us a lot. And third driving factor, probably I need to talk to Rahul as well. With IT moving towards work from home culture, boundaries are, actually I'll say there's no boundaries today. We have taken consultants from Australia, from Africa, to cater one of the niche skills, right? So what probably you need to understand from this forum, one of the key takeaways for me, what I would expect is how to manage them, right? How to manage them is one probably which we need to discuss on, and change in policies, like I said, right? We can't adopt with one leave policy, or you have to come in one shift. So we have to be flexible to what business needs are, and give them solutions, because that's what my CEO expect, right? This is the problem statement you have to, don't give me showstoppers, give me solutions. So we have to be really agile in terms of what we are doing.
Yeah. So most of you here are representing quite mature or stable organizations. So I have a different challenge. I represent Vecool, which is an 8-year-old startup, I would say, an old man in a young organization. The challenges were very different, with the funding window coming in, all the funding drying up, retrenchments all around. How do you keep the employees motivated? So beyond the pay, the question of whether I have a job, that itself was some bigger challenge we had to face. Now, mostly we all know how the budgeting happens. There are companies which align their manpower budget pretty closer to how the business ramp up happens. But it is again a journey. All of us would have gone through that journey. For us also, it was more like, yes, if you ask, there's a manpower budget. Yes, there is a manpower budget. Now, if you really look at it, how the manpower budget was evolved, it is mostly it will be a derived figure, right? So I'm going to do X amount of sale, so my manpower cost should be X percentage of the revenue. Now, you don't really plan for how you scale up, the span and scale, these things are not looked into it. So we had a challenge in terms of a lot of fear around employees, what's going to happen. Within your own domain, you see people being moved out. So it was a decision which we have to take, wherein MD came out openly that and made a very bold statement that Vecool will not retrench anybody, right? I mean, we believe we will not cut muscle, we have to cut fat. And we start driving a path to profitability, where we try to engage the employees in terms of, whether it's cost cutting, reduction, or areas where we would do it. And we used to acknowledge their efforts. So that is given a much more better mileage. And when they see that, and when there is a statement itself coming in that we are not going to lay off, it's a very powerful statement which we made. And we are able to survive it. Now, what I'm saying is I'm just going one step beyond the pay. On the basic employment itself was a challenge for us.
Interesting. So we've discussed quite a few global trends that have shifted HR and pay strategy, like one size does not fit all, flexibility, inclusivity, trust and transparency. Incentives have changed, pay structuring has changed, work from home, globalization, HR agility. So to continue, are there any other global trends that are impacting your HR and payroll strategy, or over and above these?
Can I?
Yes, please.
Can I?
Yes.
Sorry. Okay. There was a very recent conversation with some of our employees, and it was not on a formal meeting, but a couple of informal meetings. The question was, and the debate was, it was a very strong debate put from the other side. And the debate was that why are you not allowing moonlighting? Why are you not allowing me to work with some other company? And we said, no, the contract says that you have to be with us. They say that you pay us only 10%. And that's not enough for me. Okay, and you're not allowing me to do. I'm not going to, I will come and work 8 hours or 10 hours that you want me to work, and allow me to do a job which is of my, where I can contribute and earn. And it went to such a strong debate, Rahul, I couldn't defend. At some point in time, I couldn't defend. So they said that it looks like you will control tomorrow. If I want to play a violin and make money out of it, you are going to control that. How is that? So the conversations are so different, and at some point in time, internally, I thought what he is saying is right. While we as HR would never allow a moonlighting though. So that's completely changing, and they are very strong. They have very strong opinions on these things.
Very, very important. A key trend. Yes, you want to comment on that?
Here. I can't resist myself. I think. There are 4 things in the mix. It's like, well, I'm from North India, so maybe I can make a little bit of fun of it. It's like a South Indian thali, and I love it. I kind of weekends are all South Indian meals, right? So it's like you have a variety on the plate, right? So you have people wanting work from home. You have people wanting flexibility. You're wanting people who want to do moonlighting and follow their passion, or perhaps earn more money, which could be conflictory or not conflictory with the current setup. And you have whole kinds of demands coming in to retain people. You have to continuously add benefits as well. So all tastes and spices in a same platter, right? And trust me, I don't think if anyone has any straight answers to it or will ever have. It's a very complicated situation actually.
Moonlighting, I don't look at it as a moonlighting, more of a gig economy, I would say. So every team we are forming it in small portions, and every team we are trying to have these people who can work just on an hourly basis or task basis. Otherwise it's becoming very difficult, especially when you look for specialists, when you look for consultants, then they are like, they are very specialized, and they don't want to work or attach themselves to one organizations, because the more the merrier for them in terms of implementation of knowledge, or for them to do different projects and all that. So every team we are trying to do that, so that there will be set of people who are like full-time, there are people who are part-time, there are people who are task-based. And second thing is, we are also, probably I would say it's a good thing that we are able to attract a lot of women colleagues who are coming back, from their career break. So a lot of them have started taking it up, and they like to do it from home, and we are giving them very specific tasks. They are finishing and then giving it to us. But we are getting into clear contracts, because these are like, again, a European-based company, GDPR gets into picture, data protection gets into picture. Correct. So you need to monitor them, and you need to give them assets and all that. And the other thing that we could find it as a challenge is that on the quick gratification that people want. The early access of payroll is actually a big topic in our company now. So we had a vendor who came and approached also, and you will have all these leadership team mix, right? Some of them who are pretty old school, some of them are very, very innovative. So, some of them felt that what is this? They can take their money anytime. How can you leave it? So, but people want that. They are saying that I have done work for 15 days and I am eligible to take it whenever I want. But sometimes you need to do both, because earlier our parents used to teach us how to manage our money. Now HR has to do it, right? So we have to tell them, please wait, because one side we are talking about early access, the other side I could see last 4 weeks itself I faced 3 ER cases where all of them are people who have taken loans on the online. And we are getting calls, because if you are there in the contacts, then they reach out after 5 days, right? And they are getting threatening calls, vulgar messages and all that. So you need to teach them that please wait, don't go for these quick gratifications. Gadgets is driving them, lifestyle is driving them, and they are not understanding that pay is more of a long-term thing. So yeah, it's a mix of both.
So one more just I want to add on this is that I'm not saying that we should be taking the moral high ground, but this jungly rummy That's a big challenge, especially in the frontline workforce. They take the money, they get into it, online gambling, and no, the question is old school of thought, whether you want to make the pay. Second is what's going to happen. You know, they are going to get into a trap. So
it all depends, I think. We had this question of moonlighting when we were having our ethics day in the office. And somebody asked the question, and which is worth enough pondering, is that if somebody is doing a stock market exchange in the office for himself, so he's making money, right, and he's using this office time. So is it moonlighting or not? And nobody had an answer. Nobody had an answer.
Very right. It came in that discussion also. You are absolutely right. A lot of people do trading in the office, right? And see, Anil, earlier we used to give an advertisement. We don't give jobs. We make careers. So people used to be so keen and they used to respond to the advertisement. Today, if we respond, we allow moonlighting, a lot of people will join maybe.
See, but moonlighting also, many companies have a double standard. If you have a requirement, you don't mind
Exactly.
engaging
Somebody who's already working.
We call them as consultants. We call them as consultants. See, as we speak, actually, we are terminating one person from the group. That is what.
Yeah, Pooja.
Coming back to the
Correct.
transformation topic and global influence, because and solar clicking is still a new baby for me. So speaking predominantly from the earlier experience, I used to manage the 8 countries in Asia Pacific. Something that really disrupted the whole element of human resources for us was the employee touch points.
Right.
And the word employee experience that you spoke in your earlier section as well. So there were no more touch points. So it's the difference between feeling the manual drive and the EV. Men, I'm sorry, but men still love the manual drive and the feel of the gear and the shift, That's the Indian psyche of driving a manual car. We love doing that.
You don't have to feel sorry. It's good actually.
It was a judgmental statement. But yeah, it's the same thing. We in HR, we love giving forms, collecting forms, filing papers. We need the feel of doing work from an HR perspective, and there were no more touch points. So that's the biggest disruption that we ourselves had to adapt to. And then, of course, virtual trainings, virtual meetings became a challenge as well. Well, it's a passé now. We've gone past it, but that was one of the biggest disruptions. The bridge just fell down. It was that for us.
Yeah. So COVID was a catalyst for the tech transformation to happen, which was actually taking longer. Yeah, Priya.
Yeah. So for us, we have a different challenge. So we're still in a hybrid mode. We've not called our employees back to work. So we have people from, let's say, from Jharkhand till all the way till Kanyakumari, about employees workforce spread. And we heard this moonlighting as well. So there were people managers who came and said, hey Priya, what do we do? How do we know whether this person is working in another company, so on and so forth? And there were suggestions like, why don't we check the provident fund so that we come to know exactly. There you go. So they will have 2 ID, means then they are working in 2 companies, so on and so forth. So I think I like the point what Pooja mentioned. The employee experience today is very, very important, and the touch points with which what we're talking about. So gone are those days where I think people are like more wanting to have a holistic experience. They wanted to see what is in it for me, what is that I would get it. I think it's gone that from that era of more than, if I may use the word, me, mine, myself kind of a thing. And that's how the generation is. I think we need to accept and adopt ourselves and move forward. So what we did is we empowered all our managers and say, hey guys, you have a team of 20 people. You go ahead and see the 20 people whether they're there or not. I think it's a responsibility of yourself. And I like what Anil mentioned. I think the people managers have to become the HR managers, right? They need to be the forefronts, and we can't be, for a size of organization, we can't be like 100 people in HR. We can't, we're talking about size and thing, and I think the people managers have to be told to manage that, and I think that's a big challenge too. And these guys are, moving from individual contributors to people managers. They don't understand the nuances of what is managing a team, so on and so forth. So it's like this, right? So I wanted to be like what my manager did not treat me. How I went through as an individual contributor, I don't want to do that. I think there are some shift the paradigm shift in the mindset of people. But I think we are doing a lot of awareness. So we have something called Manager Essentials, something that we want to do like a kind of an educative sessions and say, hey, what are the things that you need to do when a new onboarding? And I think we can't do this coffee connects. You can do, but where does it thing look into? I think today this generation, people want more of freedom, more of flexibility, more of not, if I may use the word policing. They want that kind of thing. Hey, give me that, I will give you. You tell me 9 hours. So for us, we have the productivity. At the end of the day, that matters. We are a service-based company. But I think these are some challenges we're looking at. How can we equip or enable our people managers to be the HR managers? That's something that we're consciously doing as an organization.
Interesting. So this is a good segue to move into the very topical topic of technologies, using the next gen technologies to enhance your processes. And since we're talking more about pay today, so how are you using next gen technologies and what innovations are happening there to enhance the experiences of the end users as far as pay and other HR functions are concerned?
So I'll share my
Yes,
experience.
please.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In fact, at the time of COVID, we were really tied up because of lack of control on what people are doing, how we are monitoring their attendance, all those things. So immediately after that, we have gone for complete automation of HR, from hire to retire kind of a thing. Now we are doing everything online. Everything online. There is no need of much of intervention from manual thing in HR. We moved to that, but we have understood that in the last 1.5 years, we were forced to increase our HR manpower. It was about 23 people. Now we have got 43 people. You know why? Automation is happening. Many things are getting eased out, controlled, all those things. But the people connect. The moment it started missing, that emotional connect or that feeling of creating involvement with the organization, for which we have to add more people. And thus, investment in technology helped us in having control. Now, in one click button, payroll process can be done, linked to the attendance, face detection, etc. But at the same time, people experience, when it comes to an organization, it is not just these processes and technology, it is beyond that. When I need, where is that I'm getting that emotional connect with an employee who's senior, who will talk to me, who will understand my problem, who will try to help me. This technology cannot give. So this is only one realization over the last 1.5 years, which we have forced, that we have seen it, we have faced it. And another thing that we have noticed is that after COVID, out of new recruits, 60% of them are leaving within 1 year. 60% of the youngsters. We take more youngsters to bring in more young blood, qualified, future for the organization. But we found it very difficult to retain them. 60% of them are leaving within 1 year itself. It is not the question of pay. It is question of the global impact of how the work culture is changing. Okay, in US and Europe, nobody will think about, suddenly they will put their paper and, get back to their business or whatever they want to do, they will do. And they get some other
Go
job.
on a holiday for,
Yeah, they will do that. In India, 20 years back, 30 years back, it is looked at as a crime to leave a job and try for some other job. Today, that trend of what globally happening has happened to India. But one thing in India is that we still have human connectivity, the emotional aspect of life, all those things are there in organization. So how you tap it, how you bring your HR team members to understand that and mold them into that framework where you can create belongingness. So technology is good for control purposes, but if you want to retain your people and create organization where there is a belongingness, we definitely need to have HR interface with people, which is only possible with manual interactions or interventions.
I'll just add to Madan. Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry. So I think while we talk about the nuances and benefits of HR automation and so on, I think one key challenge, especially we coming from the same TVS group, is that I think we interface and deal with different age group of employees, right? Being more than a 3-decade organization, right? So how do we inculcate a habit of using them in terms of effectively is very huge challenge. because young mindset we have, middle-age group and seniors. But while we talk about HR, digital transformation, so on, but is it solving a real purpose of the larger audience is one huge challenge. There comes the awareness, there comes and more of educating them in terms of what are the pros and cons. So that's become a huge challenge because we have done it 2 years back. But if you look at the utilization of it, it's not more than 50%. So it requires a lot of pushing, taking ownership at the people and manager level and so on, which is becoming a challenge in most of the companies.
Anybody has a best practice here? How you
Yeah,
increase utilization?
I'll just add, Pooja.
Yeah.
See, he spoke about technology, and then more than technology, employee connect is important.
Yeah, emotional.
We used to have technology for marking the attendance. At some point in time, after pandemic, we realized that more than technology, we need trust. We trusted the employee and we said that attendance is off the records. You don't have to mark attendance. You just mark your absence, which is your leave. You're going on a leave, just mark it and move on. You don't have to come and every day say that I am present. So that's another dimension to it. Like the way you said that the connect is important, we also gave the other T, then the technology, which is the trust.
2 years if you're trying and having still that problem, it's a real problem, because we were also having initially this was the challenge, that youngsters were using mobile phones, laptops, they will be using it very easily. Others will have a problem, it's a mindset problem. The middle-aged people who are about to retire, maybe above 50 years kind of category. So constantly we had to be with them to teach them, train them and tell them that your salary will not get processed if it is not done. When it touches those critical and very sensitive area, automatically they will start. But once they get used to, it's a change management, and how much you are focusing on the change management will have the impact. Otherwise, it will go traditionally. You will also lose confidence and focus, and it will go back to the old ways.
See, one more thing I've noticed. I think maybe the learning would have been from my home itself, from my children, what they look and see. I see that more and more with the younger generation, there is a lot of interest I see towards social justice, okay, towards what difference you are able to make to the world, whether it's net zero, what is the carbon emissions, what impact you are able to make it, and they try to align more. So if you see that, I mean, for them, I would say that's pretty cool to do it, correct?
You're
so,
more socially conscious.
Yes, and I see that generation being more that. So if you're able to connect, and if you're in your agenda, business agenda, some of these are factoring in. Like in our organization, certainly we have a goal that we need to ensure that farmer income at least grows by 20 to 30%. That's our objective. Now that is have a good connection, social connect. So even when I go to the campus, what we put out in the field, people talk about that. So that I would say that socially conscious and what you are able to make a difference. If you can weave those stories, I mean, that's also one way you can hold the people.
Yeah, aligning the purpose, with the bigger organization's purpose.
What I would like to add is, today the Gen Z population coming in. The Gen Z population coming in, right? A gentleman spoke about stock market. Today, the generation have changed where my father used to save money for buying a house. I'm saving money for my comfort. My son earning money for probably is luxury.
Correct.
The Gen Z people, they don't know where to invest today. They're pretty aware about the market and they are well informed in terms of what they want. And they explore a lot of things, because earlier my father used to say, if you want, you come to me, I'll spend some time to teach you about how the stock market works. But today Gen Z, they know how, because the digital world they learn.
Correct.
And they also, some people feel it's exciting, it gives quick money, and
processes have become simpler.
Exactly.
It's easier now to buy stock than it was 5 to 10 years back.
So
Exactly.
if you see, right, we have onboarded a lot of freshers in the last 3 years. 21, 22, they want a dynamic pay process. They want to reduce tax. How? Right? So in fact, last 3 years, so much requests have come where in the last 6 months, my payroll management team is working on how to devise a plan to reduce the tax. So if you see, traditionally what we do is April, May, we ask people to declare their investments, and proof will be collected in Jan. Today what is happening, and once they freeze the declaration, it's freezed. They can do any changes only by end of the year, or time of declaration we change them. But we have made the declaration so flexible where people can log in and say, if this is what the investments are, this is the tax is going to. They can lock it on 15th of February, because our cutoff is 25th. They can lock every month by 15th on how flexible they can run their pay, the taxes, right? So we also brought in flexible benefit plan, so they can also play around the FPP to reduce the tax, right? So last 3 years, because of this shift, we changed the completely only for IT organization. For factory is different. For IT, we made it completely dynamic. This has actually made more relevant to the current generation. Right? That was a big hit for us in last 6 months or so.
And this is a very strong pillar for financial wellness also.
Exactly.
So I wanted to now just discuss that, because even Hari brought about an important point, and we all are aware that loans are available so easily today. It is so tempting, but it is so hard to pay those loans, and it has so much repercussions. So what are you doing in your organizations to inculcate good, healthy financial wellness habits?
Can I add a few sentences
Yes.
here? For our talents, see, if I look at from my industry perspective, the challenge is today we are discussing who are those persons who is going to run the organization in 2030 or 2035. Do we have them today or not? If we have them, how do we safeguard their knowledge? And we utilize the energy of the new rookies of Gen Y, Gen Zs and all those things. See, in that context, when I look at, it's very, I just lost the context.
Financial wellness.
Yeah, financial well-being. What we are telling that, is there anybody who is looking for to set up a home, housing? As an organization, can we give that kind of loan, which is lower than the market? That's one way of looking into. Second is, even we were talking about early wage access, Rahul you spoke about. We really thought very seriously, while we have not dropped. But again, one dilemma which was coming to our mind, the moment we talk about early wage access, are we on the contrary giving a message that our salary is poor, you need the money in advance? So we are really in dilemma. We couldn't able to conclude as of now. So therefore, we are looking at flexible things. We are continuously telling them. There's a company also by the name of FinSafe. We connected with them. They talk about how you invest your money, etc., without promoting any financial products. We had multiple sessions with our employees, and also again people talked about tax consultancy and all those things. So many initiatives we are bringing in so that people are aware about employee financial well-being. But today's generation is also at some point of time, I feel there are people who are most aware about their financial things also.
Some of them.
Some of them, yes. They know how to make money, and they are intelligent. They don't want to teach them, and that's my experience. I would say.
Venkat, I'd like to get you in and ask you the
I'll
same
share,
question.
I'll share one of our practices which can be used in any companies for looking into the financial wellness other than the pay and salary related, is that for saving the employees from the trap of credit card or personal loans from various financial institutions, we have a system that any employee can take loan from the company based on their number of years of service. 1 year, this much limit based on the salary. 2 years, this much. How many times of the gross salary they can take? There is a policy where an employee can take loan by submitting the document that if it is for house purchase, vehicle purchase, employee children's education or health related issues, they can take loan from the company. Throughout India, any employee can based on the number of years of service, and also a cap on the salary. What is the salary into so many numbers that way. The second thing is that the company has created a fund which is called Employee Welfare Fund, where all the senior management team members are contributing voluntarily to the fund every month. There is no tax exemption on that. you're giving it for your employees. Senior management takes the initiative. 12 crores, when the company was sold to a Japanese company, 12 crores were kept from the purchase consideration, kept in that fund. Okay, so you get interest. And then employees are adding to that. This fund is used with a trust formed for helping the employees in case of any financial problem. So this looks at as a parental approach that we don't want our employees to get into trouble. So one is loan from the organization, irrespective of your grade, level, etc., but based on the salary and number of years service. And then support from the employee welfare fund. These two things, to most of the cases, we were able to address the financial issues of employees and save them.
Venkat?
Another 2 points I just wanted to mention that again, flexibility in pay. When the young generation, they don't bother about this provident fund and all those things. Okay. So then we don't go, we allow them not to go beyond statutory limit. But when you go up, when you've grown, I was talking about 5 generation in the organization. In my organization, when the moment somebody touches 45 age, we ensure that whatever gross salary is there, 40% of it goes into the basic, so that retirement starts accumulating. The moment somebody touches 50 age, the 50% of it goes into the basic salary, so that retirements, everything, leave pay, all those things gets accumulated. And the moment somebody touches 55, it's 100% in basic. So that your returns grows and you live a healthy life after retirement. So again, the talking about is flexibility. You cannot have unified structure for anybody.
Venkat. Yeah.
See, Mr. Rahul said the financial wellness is what when people know what they get. But what I felt was we all know what we get mostly, but we don't know how much we are spending, where we are spending. So in our company, I felt this problem with all the employees, and it stems from the financial wellness. So what I did is I took a session for all Indian employees. What are the templates I used to develop for my own personal financial planning? I shared them because it is structured after many years of time. So for example, mutual fund we all invest. Okay, if I want to know what is the last month return of all the funds, none of the software gives. It gives only cumulative. So we have to monitor how the funds goes. So how to do it? No employees knows it. Also, I know the education inflation is 20%. Okay, but I want to put my kid in as a medical or engineering after say 20 years. How much I should put now monthly so that my kid can get that money? If I ask this question, none of my employees know. So like this small things, we all should know the tools to build the assessment. Otherwise, we don't have the tool, how we will know? We all know we should save, but where is the tool? So I thought the financial wellness comes more from training the people by giving the needed tools for them to use, and main thing is they have to spend at least 2 hours or 1 hour per month, so that they know where the money is going and where to cut in. So I think that's what we are doing once in a year to all employees, so that they know how to manage the funds.
And share that tool with us also.
Yeah, I was about to ask.
Yeah, I think the town halls should also be used to create awareness about financial wellness in organization. That goes a long way.
So what we do is in our organization we give an interest-free loans for our employees. Maybe it is not put in the contract, but then I think for employees who've been with us as a long-term player, we do support in terms of any personal exigencies, etc. And again, it's like a loan, right? So we don't say you'll have to pay it in 2 months. We take it in equated installments so that there is no pressure in terms of that. The second thing that we also do is the educational loan that we support for our employees in terms of somebody wants to do let's say a specific certification curve in an IT company. We do support that, and we've also enabled that so that they feel that the company is also investing on me, and therefore it's mutual. So there is also a ROI from that point of it, from where the employee also feel valued and belong there. And lastly, I liked what Venkat said. Also the awareness part of it. At the end of the day, if my money is just more in terms of what is my take home, I think the awareness part of it is something we have our in-house tax consultants who sort of, help our employees who come in weekly twice to tell them, hey, this is my salary, which means where do I have to invest, and what does that, at least help me to take more money in terms of hand. That is something that we do. Yeah. I think you can't just say one size fits all. You need to sort of do everything that sort of helps the needs of the
It's
employees.
more about customization and personalization today. So the next question is that what are the 2 or 3 things you look for while selecting a partner for your HR and pay requirements?
I can add at least 2 which is coming to my mind. One is the integrated system, end-to-end, where I will have the ability to access the data, because today data is important for me to generate analytics to understand where I am in terms of my personal cost to profitability, personal cost to turnover, in terms of employee experience, that kind of data. I think that's one. Second, again, I was talking about flexibility. Do that system allows me to bring that flexibility when I want? So I think these are the 2 topics, 2 top of the things which is coming to my mind first.
Pooja, very briefly, I just came out of an HR digital transformation exercise, and we implemented HRs across about 23 countries for Schaeffler. 2 things that were very, very important was the intellectual capability and the bandwidth of the solution provider, from understanding not just employee needs, but also the law and the structure of payroll across countries, and to be able to adapt to that. So their intellectual capability and bandwidth in terms of advising on the right solutions was very, very important for us. And part 2 of it was, of course, system configuration and the comfort that the vendor would have in terms of understanding our skill gaps, our system gaps, and the compatibility that could go in the marriage. Yeah.
Yeah, this point has come twice and we must build on it. You were also talking about globalization, hiring from Australia.
Yep.
Even Rahul, would you like to share something?
Yeah, so the 2 emerging trends here, thanks Pooja for bringing that up. I think organizations are looking for a consolidated view across multi-countries, right? So the big thing is, the big risk is, morning you should not get an email, oh, there's a compliance issue happened in UK or in any of the geographies, which can become a headline news, or a data security issue, which could be worse, considering GDPR and whole host of other things, right? So the compliance-related subject is becoming very important. And how do you deal with compliance? For compliance, it's always proactiveness, right? So the data flow has to be managed very, very well. Data privacy has to be by design, not as an afterthought, right? So when you have to do all these things, you'd like to have a partner or a consolidated view, however small your organizations are, right? Like maybe 5 people in Thailand or 20 people in Australia or whatever it is, right? I think the data flow and the platform has to be integrated. So I take that point, right? I think there has to be a quick resolution of issues. Issues will always happen, right? I mean, we just can't wish them away, right? But how do we resolve that issue, right? I think is important. Third point that I will express based on my experience is, many a times we overdo this integration piece, and we end up building a oil refinery, right? One data flowing here, and huge amount of pipelines that we build so that, data can flow like oil across, right? I think, we should take a step back. We should say, hey, you know what? It has to be kept very simple. And if required, we should re-engineer the processes, remove the redundant processes and overlapping processes so that it's as simple as, it should not become an oil refinery. And that's an analogy that I keep using all the time.
Yeah, sometimes it complicates the existing process when it is over-engineered. So what we probably I would expect is that more from the subject matter expertise, because we need consulting. Sometimes this is given to a partner because probably we can work on something else, to be very honest, right? So the concept of outsourcing is all about that. So it has to bring my and my team's workload down rather than we start equally working. So that is one. Second is on a periodic basis suggesting us what is right, what is wrong, and what can be done better. Because especially when we are, like my organization, if you see, we are a UK-based company and then having an offshore in India. So sometimes or a lot of time for me goes just on explaining Indian system to my own colleagues in UK. Right? Yeah. So they assume that, okay, in India everybody is available outside. You can just go and then hire them. So you need to tell them that what is the demand, what is the legal things, and then how it works, what is okay, what is not okay. So probably that consultative thing will be helpful.
I would say user-friendly portal, right? Because today, we've implemented a lot of tools recently. It's too complex. It's too complex, and one strong decision what I have done, because I've been implementation partner for many tools in the last 15 years. Started with Talio. So we don't want to do any customization. We want to see how they're using. If it is slightly good, we want to keep it as a separate tool. In the sense we have today what I've done, we have different tools, close to 14 tools. Most of the companies in the market, what they do is they try to integrate with one tool, what they have in-house. So what I've done, I've brought everything under one umbrella. So payroll will be a separate tool. For me, my, the performance management, one different tool. And the overall employee will be, so I have 14 tools are from 4 different vendors, right? I didn't integrate, but I brought them everything under one roof, because if I bring everything integrated in one, it will going to be a challenge. Then we actually cut the nuances of what one actually brings as a strength, right? So it should be really user friendly, like what Suman said. It should also be agile, because as I said, we hired people from Africa, we hired people from Australia, and also the office in US as well as in Japan, and Japan regulations are completely different. And as Rahul said, if any compliance issue comes in, it just goes out of the window, right? So we need something which is agile, and also I treat the consultants as business partners to see how flexible they can, and like what Hari said, we need consultative approach, right? So these are good things you can do with the change in time, right? So yeah.
Interesting.
No, I was just echoing all the whatever people have talked about. I mean, 3 things I will look for. One is a subject matter, or we call it competency, or whatever the competency of the provider. And 2, I think, to me, customization and agility, which is very important, because, whenever I want any API to be connected, I think a lot of these things are important. And many providers don't have that kind of flexibility or customization, what I need actually. And many times I have to adapt my HR practices to their needs actually, so it becomes the other way. So, so once I asked one of the enterprise solution provider that should I work your way, or you will align to my way of what I wanted to do. So that's one. Third is, Rahul talked about data flow, but I think security is very important given the issues of GDPR and stuff like that. I think I will look at what are the DLP policies, what are the endpoint servers and stuff like that. But I think I get into those details in terms of finding out what kind of security measures are in place actually. So in fact, in my earlier company, I was managing 22 countries payroll. I think almost 7-8 are with the ADP. So yeah. So those are things which, these are 3 things.
So in fact, Vinod, our HRS platform is called My Way.
What is it?
My Way. So one important thing is, I would say, is the best practices. I mean, the right consultant, the industry best practices, so that you don't have to reinvent the wheel again. You don't have to go through the same problem which you've gone through, and something you would not have thought about. That's where the value really comes in, right?
Nageshwar, you wanted to make a point.
Just echoing to what Vinod was mentioning, I think most of the enterprise organizations gives us a product actually, right? Which has got multiple modules and so on, end to end I'm talking about. So I think it also gives some kind of lack of clarity, right? Which one to adopt, which one to lose it, because unless you take the entire package, the package is not so effective to the organization. So we are forced to get commitment to the package rather than taking in bits and pieces. So I think second is, as Vinod rightly mentioned, how do we customize it, right? Because there's one master database available, right? So the entire package is working towards data analytics of one masterpiece, right? So it brings us more of lack of clarity from our side whether to go in or not. So rather, I think let me stick on to my traditional Excel sheet to drive it more user friendly and so on. So that is the area which we are not able to design.
So is there a need for you to put forward a business case to the decision makers when you go to them with a proposal that you want to digitalize a certain process? Do you need to show some kind of a business case, ROI? How does that work? I mean, it's open to anybody.
Absolutely right, because this is a cost. So, when we go back to business, they are like, yeah, but you are there to do that. Why do you need a digitized thing? So you need to sell it to them. The way, the partner is selling to us, we need to go one notch above and then tell them the scalability of it. Because when we are growing across, then it is important. So those kind of things, we need to create our own business case and write it in their own language, which they will agree. So it's a big selling process, and we also need to show them how it is going to help us on a long term.
And also help the business. You have to show them the business growth.
Yeah.
But also, when you have the initial contract, my experience, I'm saying, what happens is every time the, payroll or the HR, service provider comes back and say, I mean, this is what we have agreed in the contract. I would have probably agreed, but I think the times have changed, and today when I want some change, it again becomes a CR actually change request, and then again comes a commercial transaction. It becomes a headache in terms of, I would say I would be, well off managing with Excel actually. So, sometimes I get into that kind of a mode that, you fight and then time, understanding the requirements CR and then changing that to our needs takes a lot of time. So sometimes, so that's why when you choose a partner, I think the partner also has to, Pramod was there in my earlier company, we talk about design thinking. So you have to understand the stated and unstated needs of the customer also. It's a lot of things are unstated needs of the customer. I can't state everything in the contract that this is how it has to work.
So for us, Pooja, the business case and the selling to the management was easier because we all knew that it had to happen post-pandemic. It was a calling. The difficult part was having the business case and the cost and the deliverables to be sold to the stakeholders and the managers who were the drivers of the multipliers. And that was a very tough job because then there were about 150 of them. And we had to run 150 sessions selling the point to them and not just the management team. So I think that was more a difficult job to bring that offering on the table and making it a business case, convincing enough business case.
So Pooja, I mean the management goes for an investment, right? So I think it's a huge investment, however you put a business case. But I think it's also, like what Vinod mentioned, what is a thing that is not stated is something that we don't get to see until the product is there. So when we go in, we say we sign up, we go and, buy the product, and then we find out, any customization is another, bucks that you'll have to pay, X or Y, whatever that you need to do. So, I mean, to me, the partner that we select has to be very clearly transparent about what is there, what the system can give, what the system cannot give, and how can it be customized to the need of the organization. Because for me, the problem today will be very different when it comes to processing, etc., etc. The need might be very different, and if that can cater for the ask from the organization, I think that's there. And convincing a business leader is obviously cost, but I think if the purpose is met, and if it's going to be very easy if it's going to make 2 people's or 3 people's job easier, I think that's the ask.
Yeah, if it enhances experience and you get to know that in your reviews and all that.
Because everybody wants the click of the button, right? So can I see my payslip here? Can I see everything? Everything is in the mobile thing, and people wanted to look into that way. So
Another important point is that today the modern accounting standards requires for you to provide for everything related to people cost. Okay, your actuarial valuation, it has to happen on time, otherwise you cannot finalize your accounts. Then now if you are giving long service awards for 10 years, 15 years or 20 years, it is not that you need to provide when the 10 year comes. You need to start providing from this year itself so that now your profitability is getting corrected on that year itself. So these accounting standards require HR to provide data on time. Automation is the only way to give that data on time. So that's one of the points that we can discuss with business always.
And Automation is here and now. I mean, there have been so many talks about ChatGPT and ChatGPT taking away our jobs. And, I've met leaders who've told me, Pooja, the organizational structure is no more a pyramid. It's going to be like a diamond shape because automation is going to take those, many jobs. So, with that, my question to you is, what do you forecast? Where do you see, HR and pay moving in the next 1 to 2 years? What are some of the trends you can say for future? Bala, you've not spoken for long.
Technology is taking a faster pace. I think this is going to really bring in a lot amount of changes. As you said that, ChatGPT is coming in a big way. And for us, most of the activities, most of the functions have been automated. And even if I'm trying to talk about employee engagement part of it, neuro-linguistic program, to that level, we are able to absorb and understand, take a decision. And bots have been in place at the level 1 and level 2. Level 3 is where the subject matter experts comes into it and operate it. So most of the transaction has been taken away. So I think that's going to evolve in a much faster pace, and it's going to be larger growth.
Yeah, Suresh. Venkat.
Yeah. So I think the chat GP and AI, I think the HR function is going to be the most sought after function because AI cannot replace one per one, which is the way the human connect. Okay. So even if you ask chat GPT, it says, I'm not a human, I don't have emotions. But what HR guys are specialists on emotions. So I think the function which is going to prosper after ChatGPT is HR function.
Since Venkat is the only person who's not from HR, he's making sure he's making friends here.
But then Venkat, you have Siri and Alexa, your best friends, right?
See, because we have seen the
yeah, they listen to you.
we have seen the virtual world past 2 years. So what I observed is the virtual world. We have seen many sessions happening in virtual. No one listens to the session. We just to focus on our work. It goes in partly. What we are doing in virtual world. So now we realize the importance of speaking to people. If my HR manager goes around to the shop floor and speaks to the shop floor person, that is the connect we are looking at. Not speaking in Teams and then say spot award recognition. These are all actually not doing much. So the more we have a ground connect, a field work connect, the better the company will be. So I
So
think
you feel that the younger generation, the millennials, the Gen Zs, or the alpha generation that are coming to the workplaces, they will also care so much for the human touch?
yes.
In fact, it is actually, on the contrary, I do believe young generations, it's a kind of a myth to me actually that they don't care about all those things and all. I did a survey. I think they do care a lot about the human touch actually, and that's how we came out with the communities at our company where we don't drive any of those communities, talent communities or wellness. All these are driven by the employees, and it's pretty good actually. They drive it like typical like a college environment, and our company is anyway large portion is younger crowd actually. So we give power in the hands of the employees. I mean, it's working well at least to me. And I'm
sorry.
the only thing I do not know. The emotions are important, but I don't know the emotional intelligence itself will be questioned. So I don't know what we are getting into. So
With a greater amount of technology also, I mean, my experience is that human connect makes a big difference. Now, one can do it in different ways. May not be scaling up the HR team may not be the right thing, but maybe you should look at the alternative. One thing I tried and working so far is that I've engaged with an NGO, mostly blind people, and my entire the Connect Employee Service Center is managed by them. Now, there are both outbound and inbound. Outbound is more, so we have seen that the more of the questions, queries, concerns are coming from few buckets. One is your people who are joining you, and second is like your attendance systems and all you put in. Then there are queries around, people may lose salaries. So why wait for an employee who's going to lose the salary to raise the complaint rather than proactively go and reach out and tell, look here, you have not regularized or done something like that. And the third bucket we have seen is mostly people who have resigned. And many times the settlements will take time because some clearance or something would not have come in place. So reach out to them and look here, you resigned, okay, I hope this is the right decision. So there is a script which we have given. So they do the script and they tell them these are the processes. So this has helped me. So one time automation and it's more like an hybrid model. There's a personal connect to it also.
For me, technology will take away a lot of work from HR. Like you see payroll today, you see the way we do recruitment, the way we do payroll management or the file management. Earlier we used to do a lot of work on managing personal files. I think a lot of work will go away. I see that today a lot of organizations are moving towards building talent for future. So there is where the HR will play a major part rather than only be busy with compliances, busy with ensuring that the policies are in place, they are described to people in the way it has to be. I think that can be taken care by AI. But I think future will be the HR is only working for the strategic part as a strategic partner for building talent for like Suman told that he's talking about 2035. So it will be the major work with the HR, and we've seen that transformation earlier from a personal department to becoming HR partner. We're fighting for a place on the table, which we've got now. I think that will be the future.
So two things I would like to add.
And last thing, I'll have to leave. I'm sorry, but I'll have to leave.
Oh, yeah.
Can you just wait for 5 minutes more? Or you just need to leave?
I had to leave by 11:30, but
okay.
I'm really sorry, but
no problem.
Thank you. It was a nice meeting all of you.
So we'll close in 5 minutes and we'll take a group picture.
Okay, then I'll wait.
Okay, no worries. Thank you so much.
So make it quick.
Yeah.
So one, so ChatGPT and AI, right? So AI is probably going to be used. I would say if we don't upskill the employees, right? It's not like ChatGPT is going to take job away from us, right? So we need to update ourselves, including HR professionals, everybody on the on the floor. It is HR responsibility to ensure upskilling what kind of programs we can drive, right? To make them more relevant, to make them change, right? To what we have done. Earlier we used to say pay for performance. Now we are calling it pay for skill. So today we hired in mobile technology on Flutter Golang. It might be completely a new term on many people. That's the latest technology in mobile, right? So even if you see the Naukri, which is the job board, earlier I used to follow Naukri for a long time. So earlier they used to say in IT 3 to 5 years of experience, the pay is 7 lakhs. But today, if you see the report, it says Golang Flutter, this particular skill for 2 years. So it's 5 lakhs. Okay. So industry is changing towards from pay for range or designation or title, it is moving towards pay for skill. That is very critical and we should adopt. Otherwise we cannot attract critical people.
I think we've completed a full circle because today's conversation was started by Vinod and he mentioned that for HR skilling is very important. And then Anil endorsed it and now Bala and that's what they say, future of work is actually learning.
Exactly.
So I think with that we'll end today's. You want to make a point, Alex?
No, actually Suman had a point.
Okay. Yes.
I can add, when the last question you asked about
future
of HR or future of the organization. So my understanding, whatever I have read, etc. If you look at, I don't know, any of you have followed the Gallup study of engagement. India's score is at 26, which is better than Globe. Globe is at 20. Now, what is the definition of engagement? That is also making a change. Simultaneously, we cannot ignore, while human touch is important, in 1900, 0.1 billion device was connected. In 2023, it's 53 billion devices connected. So things are changing and hierarchy is not going to be working. In our organization, we are promoting agile way of working. We have removed all the designations. It's only concept of team leader and team member. If you are having a team, you are team leader. If you are not having a team, you are team member. That's it. There is nothing called general manager, vice president and all those things.
And that's such a wonderful thought and it's a great way to end this session. So thank you so much for joining us today. I really appreciate that. We don't come to Chennai often, but I feel we should come to Chennai often. And I hope it was engaging session for you all and you're taking away some takeaways from this session. Thank you so much.